We've got a fun one planned for today. Going to be interviewing my two buddies, Jeremy with TheDadFish, owner of TheDadFish Tackle, and Chase, Southwest Indiana Outdoors. Stay tuned, find out here on this episode of That Fishing Podcast.
This is Steve Rogers with Steve Rogers Outdoors, and you're listening to That Fishing Podcast. Sit back and enjoy.
Yo! How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Or if you're new, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, That Fishing Noob, and I'm joined today by these two fantastic gentlemen with great-looking beards. We've got Jeremy, the TheDadFish, owner of
Hey, everybody.
Tackle. We've got Chase down here, Mr. Southwest Indiana Outdoors. And Chase, you also have a podcast. What is your podcast title? I was trying to look that up in like these 5 minutes that I was setting this up, but I couldn't find it.
Called Castaway Together.
There we go. Castaway Together. How's it going, guys? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
A little backstory real quick for the viewers. It's like our wives all collaborated together and tried to make plans for this episode to not happen. But here we are. It's good. Good to see you guys. Good to be here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, man.
Definitely been looking forward to this, guys.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a long time trying to go through and coordinate meeting up with one of you guys, meeting up with one or the other, and then now here we are, all three of us. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this can be a regular thing that happens, maybe on a monthly or maybe a quarterly schedule, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Definitely.
So, to kick this off, and we're going to just kind of see where this ebbs and flows, but to kick it off, Jeremy, if you can go through and let's go backstory real quick, just how did you get into fishing, and then the idea of creating your own soft plastics, how was that birthed?
So I'm going to pull up my YouTube real quick and look. So I got back into fishing. I fished when I was a kid, 8 to 12 probably. I had two uncles who were both really into fishing, and we lived on a farm with a pond, so they'd come up and we'd from Florida and Texas, and we'd fish there. And honestly, we did they set us up with worm and bobber so that they could fish and we could sit there and watch the bobber. And I developed this idea that fishing was a redneck thing. And I just decided I didn't really want to have anything to do with it because everybody I knew who fished was like a giant redneck. Not that there's anything wrong with being a redneck. And then fast forward to 2018-ish, somewhere in there, my oldest was about 3 years old, and I was stay-at-home dadding, and we had friends coming down from Michigan, and they had rented a cabin on the lake, and they wanted us to come spend the day with them, and they were going to be fishing. And I had been watching fishing YouTubers like John B. and a few other guys, and so I was like, okay, I'll go dig out my old fishing rod and stuff. And I dug it out and cleaned them all and got them set up and met them there. And it was kind of like how much of a noob I was then. I needed to get line. And so I went to Walmart and I picked out the cheapest spool of monofilament. And I was like, well, why would I buy 10 pound when I can buy 30 pound and throw it on this little size 2000, spinning reel with a medium light rod on it. So I had a terrible time, just bird's nests and wind knots everywhere. But that really sparked it. And from then on, every week, I'd go back out to my mom's farm, take my daughter, and we would fish. And until I started, for most of 2018, we did that. And then I started working regularly, and I would keep my rods in the car, and I'd stop at creeks and ponds and little backwaters and fish as often as I could. And that, as far as making it goes, I just decided I wanted to remelt. I'd seen Roland Martin do a video where he remelted his Senkos and made new Senkos with a Do-It mold. I couldn't drop the money to buy even a Do-It mold at that point. So I got some $12 open pore silicone molds on Amazon.
There you go.
And just started melting my old baits and pouring them in those. And when I caught that first fish on a bait I had made, that was it. It's all right, now I'm making bait.
Yeah, dude,
And it went from there. Every Christmas I was like, okay, this is what I want for Christmas. I want this mold. I want this injector. I need some glass cups. I need a used microwave. And it exploded from there. And then when I realized how much I enjoyed it, I was like, okay, I want to make a business out of this. And that's where DadFish Tackle kind of sprang out of.
Now, where'd you get the name DadFish Tackle?
From my YouTube, TheDadFish. And I decided on TheDadFish because I got back into fishing, taking my daughter fishing. It was my time with her. We'd go out to the pond, we'd both wade, and she would fish for most of the time. And then when she got bored, she'd splash and get muddy and all that. But it really came out of that. I started fishing again as a dad and not just, as whatever.
Sweet, man. And then here you are. What's
Yeah.
You want to give people a sneak peek of what's to come? I know that you recently made a pretty big upgrade.
I did. I haven't gotten to use it enough yet. We recently invested in a shooting star, which is a machine that allows us to make plastics at a much higher rate without sacrificing the handmade quality. So they're all still hand injected, but we can do it much more efficiently. We can do laminates. So I'm going to be making a lot of bait, and we have coming to the store very soon. I don't know release time for this, but very soon we have a Helgramite, a 3-inch shrimp, a shaky head worm, and a 7.25, 6, and 5-inch open pore swim baits.
Some impressive lineup. That's going to be good. Are there any laminates in the future with those?
Well, as many as I can. I'm still getting the shooting star dialed in to figure out temperatures, so I don't get like colors rolling on each other. I get a good clean laminate. But I'm actually getting ready to sit down. One of the things we do at events is we have a bin of plastics. There's nothing wrong with them. They might just be a little off in color, but we have a bin of plastics, and every kid who walks by that I can flag down gets a free pack of plastics. And so I've got bags and bags and bags of old plastic that just needs to be remelted. It's just plastic I haven't used. And I'm going to learn the shooting star over the next couple of weeks by making laminates with those to hand out at events for the rest of the year.
That's actually a really cool idea. So here's a fun thing. On my next order, if you want to throw in some of those and charge however many, then that'd be great to go through and just give out to people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Tournament time, especially like kids, because I know one of the big trails that I fish, they invite a lot of kids out to their events. So that'd be really cool to go through and give them some. Chase, my man.
What's up?
Man, Squeeze. Man, I feel like, especially listening to your backstory on, what was it? What's it? Casting Faith podcast?
Yeah. Well, the Christian Outdoors podcast.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like I know you so much more than I did before. But on the fishing side of things, how did you get into fishing? And then if you want to share also kind of like how the idea for a podcast was birthed and where that's taken you and what plans are for that.
Yeah. So started fishing, literally as a small child. My dad's always been into fishing. His dad was not. So, he just kind of picked that up on his own. Actually had a guy at their church that would take him out here and there, and he picked up fishing with him. And when I was young, Dad would take me out, of course, like Jeremy was talking about, worm and bobber and chasing bluegill. You catch whatever you can.
Wow.
I could remember a cousin coming in from another state, and he came in, and we actually did a little bit of creek fishing. We lived on a creek, and we went out there with just some random lures that, how it is. You just collect random lures, even as a kid. you fill a tackle box with random lures, and we went out with random lures, and we were catching little bluegill and even a few little tiny catfish out of this creek, And I loved it, way back then. Got a little bit older, and my dad had really started getting into catfishing, which meant I got into catfishing. And we did a lot of catfishing. We had actually a river camp. So we would go to the river camp and camp the weekend, catch as much catfish as we could, and clean it up and do fish fries. We would always do some kind of a get together and do a big fish fry. So loved catfishing, did that a ton with him. And then one day I took my youth group out and took them out, just threw some little soft plastic tubes in. And I was like, anything will bite these. So I was throwing soft plastic tubes and caught a crappie, and then caught another crappie and another crappie and another crappie. And I was like, man, these little fish can fight, So I started loving crappie fishing. Did that for probably, 11, 12 years. And just, that was my main focus. I would occasionally go catfishing still, but man, crappie was like just so much fun to catch. And when you're throwing those little tubes on an ultralight, you can just literally catch anything. I mean, I've caught 5-pound catfish on my ultralight rod, throwing a little crappie tube. So you just always get that excitement. I caught a 15-inch walleye on a crappie tube, you just get a little bit of excitement here and there. But then 2020, everyone got to see some new experiences in 2020. So I picked up a kayak in 2020. Or actually, I didn't even pick it up until 2021, but I did some kayaking in 2020 and started watching YouTube videos and saw these guys out fishing, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool. So decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a kayak for fishing. Picked up a kayak early 2021 and started fishing out of it. And I had been watching Greg Blanchard and seeing his tournament videos, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. I was like, I wonder if there's tournaments for crappie, because that was still what I was after, and looked around, and the only crappie tournaments were in other states. There was nothing close to me, and I was like, well, I don't know. I'll think about this. I'll see about bass fishing, because I noticed that I did have some local bass tournaments that fished out of kayaks, and one of them was at the lake that I fished the most. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I may have to try out bass fishing. So I did. Signed up for a tournament. It would have been 2023 was my first tournament, and signed up for one and went out there literally with my ultralight and my crappie jigs, and was out there fishing with those. I had a bass rod on the back of the kayak, and it literally never left the rod holder. I was just out there flipping those crappie tubes, and it was cold. We had a storm blow in. It was early March. It was 33 degrees. We had, while I was out, rain, horrible winds. It snowed. I was like, it was nuts. And I was the only guy out there in a paddle kayak. Half the other guys got off the water just a couple hours in, and I was determined I was fishing. And I ended up being the only guy that day to catch a fish, and I got a 16-inch bass on that ultralight. And I was like, okay, this is a lot of fun. These tournaments are a blast. So yeah, I was kind of hooked on bass fishing at that point. I still didn't know how to do it, but I was like, hey, this is a lot of fun, and kind of went from there. Started kind of branching out a little bit more. Really ran into some people on the water and talked to them. And one of my fellow competitors actually encouraged me to try some other lures that I had never had luck on before, and caught my first fish on a crankbait. And I was like, oh man, this is a lot of fun. You're just casting out and cranking it in, and they're hammering it. And you guys know I still love my crankbaits. So yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I've went from there. I've really loved it. I guess it would have been before my first tournament. It would have been the year before my first tournament, 2022. My wife bought me a GoPro because I had told her I had been thinking about doing some YouTube. And I was like, yeah, I really want to get one and I want to try it out. So she bought me a GoPro, and I filmed every trip for probably a year and deleted almost every bit of footage I had, because I was like, oh man, I just can't stand to watch myself. Why would anybody else want to, And your voice is annoying to you and everything else. So I ended up scrapping about a year's worth of footage. Finally uploaded a random video, and it was like a few trips out that I just kind of mashed up and put it out there. And I was like, okay, I've done it now. After I did that, I ended up doing like one or two more of those, and kind of went from there. My first several videos are like between 1 to 5 minutes, and I was feeling good about that little bit of content going out there, and just kind of kept on pushing from there. And kind of the rest is history. I've gotten to where, I put a lot more effort into my content now, put a lot more work into it, and push through. I listen to myself in the videos, even like you said, talking about podcasts, started doing a podcast with my wife, and I will go through and listen to it to try to see, hey, how can I make improvements? And that's a hard thing to do, to listen to yourself speak for that long.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm making myself get past.
Always your own worst critic, right?
Well,
100%.
yeah, it's funny, Chase. My wife bought me my first GoPro too. Sometime mid 2019, probably, maybe early 2019. And I did the same thing. Like when I was working, like I traveled for work, and I'd stop fish at least 2 or 3 times a week, even if it was just 30 minutes or an hour, and I'd record all of it and I'd trash all of it. Like, I don't think I even ever attempted to edit any of it. I recorded it, and if I didn't catch like a giant, and I was just looking, I don't have anything on my YouTube that I recorded before 2020. It's just gone. Which is probably for the best.
No, man, it'd be fun. It's like a time capsule. That's kind of how I see my channel.
Yep.
Man, this is like my 4th YouTube channel. So I've done things from like, was it video games, just kind of like montage and stuff, like compilations.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to motovlogging, which was interesting. And then did like a motovlog / fishing / gaming, which is a mess. And then I was like, oh, I probably need to focus on one thing. And then that's
get into a niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's where this fishing channel came from. So I'm pretty sure on my earlier videos I went through and recorded, and it was like, especially like gaming, it was like, I don't have any good footage. I didn't like, so a lot of it was like League of Legends way back in the day. Dude, if I wasn't getting like pentakills or like making these great plays, it's just like, all right, well, like I just burn this folder down.
So I think this is my 4th one. The first 2 were drum cover channels.
Nice.
And then video games, streaming, and then the fishing.
Dang. Hey, Chase, so I want you to tell me how you have enjoyed frog fishing.
So it is really, it's so much fun. I can't lie. It is a ton of fun. You feel like every cast, you're like, oh man, I could get a giant blow up, because it seems like when they blow up, it's that big blow up, And then every time, even though you're like, oh yeah, it's going to happen, every time they do it, it still catches you by surprise. You're like, it really happened. And I know you saw my latest video that I posted. Yeah. So the first one, I will say, I was on the phone, and while on the phone, I had my pocket folded out with my phone in it, and I went to set the hook around that, and somehow hit my button on the reel and open the spool as I set the hook, which you guys know, frogfish, you got to set that hook hard.
Yep.
So yeah, no good at all. Then, the next one, it was a big fish. I seen it on top of the water. Of course, you couldn't see it in the video good, but the next one, man, I set the hook and it hurt. Hurt bad.
Disappoint me in your voice. You were sad about that one.
Yes. Yeah. Popped the rod out of my hand. Disappointing.
Yeah, y'all were fishing in some like thick stuff. Because it was like not only just grass, it was algae on top of that too. Algae mats, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I paddled back in that so far. I fished 2 really heavy mats, and one of them I probably paddled about 50 to 60 yards back in there, which I had to paddle back out of that. And I think I hurt my neck doing it, because I've had neck pain ever since.
How's your core doing?
Jeez.
Yeah, definitely was feeling it that night.
Yeah, buddy. But still, describe that sensation when you're going through. You get the bite, you wait a sec, and then you lay into it. Describe that the first one. Describe that sensation.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I'll have to start out with, I missed a ton of frogfish last year. I just really started fishing a frog last year, really probably November-ish when I started actually focusing on fishing one. And I missed a ton of hollow body frogfish last year. I ended up landing a couple fish on a toad, soft plastic toad. Yep. Similar, but not the same kind of hook set. You can kind of get them a little bit better on those. But so this year I was like, I am going out and I'm going to catch a fish on a frog. I've had a frog tied on one of my rods almost all year long, and about every trip I've taken it out. Like every trip since I felt like topwater was going to happen, I've taken it out and I've thrown it a couple times, and just wasn't getting a bite. Wasn't getting a bite, and I was like, okay, it's going to happen. It's been probably 4 weeks now. I was out with the wife and my daughter, and we were kind of talking, and there was a grass mat, and I'd already seen fish up in this grass mat, and I was like, okay, I'm throwing out there, and I threw on the grass mat and probably worked the grass mat 4 or 5 times, and I seen some fish hitting just outside of the grass mat. It's like, okay, I'm going to throw it just outside of the grass mat and just kind of walk that frog in the open water right there. And I threw it right there where I'd seen the fish hit, gave it 3 little pops, and all of a sudden seen that bloop, that fish come up and give it that little gulp. And I made myself count in my head 1, 2, 3. Yep. And then I set the hook. And after I set the hook, I was like, okay, I felt it move. I know I set the hook into this fish. Do I still have it on? Because start reeling and all of a sudden you can feel a whole ton of weight and you're like, oh man, did I just set the hook into the grass again? Because I did that a ton last year, come in with like 20 pounds of hydrilla on the end of your line. So I was like, did I set the hook in grass again? I was like, you can't feel the fish fighting anymore at this point. Yeah, it was a small one, Yeah, so I'm just like reeling. I'm like, I think there's a bass on there. And I was like, there is, just that super excitement of, hey, I tried to do this a ton last year and I was successful, and ended up going 5 for 5 on frog before I missed one. So I've made myself give it that 3-second pause, every time.
Yeah, man, that pause is crucial. You can't get right out of its mouth. Now, Jeremy, yep. It's still like 70s, right? Like low 70s where you are.
I mean, lately it's been pretty chilly.
Yeah.
We've had a little cold snap, especially at night. It's getting down closer to 50, I think. But yeah, during the day we're getting a little bit warmer, closer to 70. It's an unseasonable cold snap. It's not usually this cold this close to June. Normally we're hitting 80s already.
Yeah, it's normally not that hot down here. So does that mean that top water is pretty turned off for you over there?
Well, so I actually caught my first hollow body frog fish yesterday.
Hey.
Caught 3 of them. So yeah, I got there and I was like, they're eating on the top, and it was late afternoon, so it'd been warm for a little while yesterday. Yeah. So they were active.
I'll tell you what, I sent you a message earlier. We definitely need some more Papa Crawls. They've been doing work. Man, I'm excited for this video that I'll be editing because Chase, I leapfrogged you. I think I'm still in first right now in this online fishing tournament. It's also Jeremy. Where are you at?
I got to get a catch board, and then I got to actually take my kayak out.
No, you don't have to. No, you can bank fish at the pond.
Any measuring board too.
Yeah, if you go to just whatever sports and outdoor store, you just get a regular bump board. Like it could be a $15 one.
Yeah,
just anything to go through and measure a fish, and then you can get out there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to June, but I am going to get back out on the water at least one time this week, and we'll see if I can finally catch my first 20 of May.
Man, that would
actually, I haven't caught a 20 all year yet.
I actually haven't either. I think the longest was 19. I went just over 19, but I'm hoping to get out onto the big lakes and hopefully, ideally break my PB. But I know water temps over there are going to be like 98. It's pretty hot. It's kind of dumb.
That's warm.
Stick your hand in it, it feels like a jacuzzi.
Tell you what, here, like in East Tennessee, my favorite time of year for fishing is September, October. Like once you hit July, they don't bite very much. But as soon as they're in that, like they're chasing the shad spawn, then they're all over it. Yeah. And that's like my favorite way to fish is paddle tails and spinner baits. And so they're chasing everything bait fish profile.
Yes.
And once it gets hot here, even on the big lakes, they just kind of shut down. Gets real slow.
Same here. I had a surprisingly good July last year, and I really wasn't expecting it. I was expecting going into July last year for it to be the way every other July has been for me. July, August, it's brutal fishing, very slow, and I had a really, really good July. Now, August did slow down again for me, but hoping to continue breaking into that, deeper water game and learning a little bit more here and there.
That's what I need to do.
Well, because you have some deep, deep water up there, Jeremy. Like 250 feet deep water.
Yeah. Last time I was on that lake, I almost sank, so I haven't been back since.
Oh, man. Yeah, you definitely got to go through and put in some work with that Old Town. Or Old Town Bros. Mm-hmm. Chase, I know you just upgraded, but maybe sometime later we can all roll in an Old Town. Meet up.
That's right.
Imagine 3 autopilots.
Good. I keep seeing them for sale, and I'm like, oh.
I mean, we're probably going to see more pop up now because my phone is right here and it's listening to all the things.
Yes, guaranteed.
Yep. Man, it's kind of bad because I have to stop myself. So I don't know if this is like with y'all, but I have a lot of hobbies. So like I have a bunch of fishing stuff, and that's why my background is blurred right now, because behind me is just a massive blob of fishing stuff and miscellaneous stuff. But recently I've also picked up golf. So Facebook Marketplace is flooded with all that stuff, and I don't need more stuff. I know my wife is like, why? There's too much stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So we actually just we stopped at the hardware store. So I told you I was building a porch swing, and we stopped at the hardware store earlier, and I went ahead and bought the paneling and stuff for my walls and my shed, the pegboard and stuff. So I'm going to be working on that in the upcoming weeks. So
nice.
I got a lot of work ahead of me.
How's the shop coming along?
So her side is completely finished, but I have not even touched my side at all. I'm going to put a ramp in. I've got a ramp ordered. I'm going to put a ramp in hopefully by the end of this week, so I can get the kayaks up in there, and then going to be working on walls this week. So
yeah, buddy. Yeah, and then decking out that backspace, that backdrop.
Yes,
with all the good stuff.
Yes, I'm excited about that. Gonna have some DadFish stickers, some yak rods. Gonna have it all over the back. So I'll have a good podcast background for the lives.
Dude, it's gonna be nice.
That'll be cool.
I can tell you just a random little silly thing. So the other day, my OCD brain, I was like, man, I need to go through and reorganize my bags of soft plastic. So I did that. And my daughter was with me. And I was like, I'm gonna make a mess. She's like, you're going to make a mess? Tell the truth. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a really big mess. She was like, why? I was like, because I'm going to dump all my fishing stuff on the floor. And she was like, why are you going to do that? You're going to get in trouble. And then I did. And she's like, why did you do that? And I was like, because we're going to play a color sorting game now. So that was fun. My son got in on it too. And we ended up sorting all the soft plastics by color. So that's how they're currently organized. And
that's awesome.
It's pretty neat. Man, little sneak peek maybe for some June bug, but dude, I was throwing a June bug earlier today just because I haven't gotten hit on it in a while, and I was like, why? Why are they not eating it? And I got hit on June bug today.
All right,
dude, I don't know, it was like a streak. Like my last 3-4 trips, I would throw out a June bug little stealth worm, an imitator, throw out papa crawls, and I just wasn't getting hit. I was throwing out the same thing on June bug lawnmower, and I just wasn't getting hit, and I don't know why. And then today they hit both a papa craw and an imitator, I believe. And I was like, oh, they still buy June bug.
It's so weird how they decide, like, this is the color we want. Yesterday, I caught one on a green pumpkin hellgrammite, and I was trying to get product pictures. So I was like, I got one, I got the pictures, I got to do something else. Swapped to our shrimp, which we're calling the shrimp. 3 inches, green pumpkin and black and blue laminate. They wouldn't touch it. Swapped it for a green pumpkin, the exact same profile, green pumpkin. Almost immediately got one. It's like they and it was partially green pumpkin. That black and blue, they just didn't want it. They wanted 100% natural, subtle. I don't know. They're weird, man.
Was it overcast?
Yeah.
It was going in and out.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember when I was throwing it color wise. Like all I caught them on were natural colors because I caught them on the green pumpkin stuff, and then I caught them on just a bullfrog pattern frog. Yeah, they wouldn't hit whites or chartreuses or black and blue.
And my fish today they were biting. They were biting pretty good.
That's
I
good.
also caught a gar.
Nice.
On a rat lure.
All right.
That was kind of funny.
So we actually had gar hitting our frogs the other day. The same day that video was made, we actually had several hits that were gar. I had one that, no joke, I hit the frog in a spot and I gave it that twitch, and it popped straight in the air and fell back down. And I twitched and it popped straight in the air and fell back down. And it did it like 4 straight times. And finally, that last time I seen the snout actually come up out of the water, and I was like, oh, that was a gar, you know?
Dude, those gar are wild.
Yeah.
Man, all of those teeth. It's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't want you flopping around with me in the boat.
Yeah, we used to catch them catfishing, so.
I still need to go through and edit that little gator that I caught.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm ready to see.
Dude. Hey, do you remember what he bit, Jeremy?
Was it imitator?
No. It was
Or Papa Craw?
Papa Craw.
Craw.
Black and blue Papa Craw. I'm telling you, man. I don't know what it is with him. It's probably not only the profile, but also that insanely addictive fish oil. That scent. That's what gets him. I know it gets me.
Yeah. When I opened a bag of the shrimp yesterday, I had forgotten I'd put shrimp scent on them. I cracked it open. It's like, oh gosh. Sealed it back up. Yeah. Found a different bag that had our oil on. I was like, that's better.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, real quick, top 3 confidence presentations.
4-inch paddle tail, for sure. Spinnerbait, and Ned rig.
Man, a Ned is something that I really need to work with and work on.
It's a great bait. I know people hate on it, but it just catches fish. You can't deny it. It catches fish, and it catches them all sorts of different ways. So I don't feel like it's necessarily a cheat code, but it's a good one.
There was a guy. I was in another group thread. There was these guys that were fishing. I think it was yesterday actually. They fished a tournament, and one of the guys broke his PB, caught a 7.8 on a Ned, tiny little Ned. And golly. So real quick with the Ned, where should I throw it? Because I know a lot of the places like the creek that I fish is just like a mucky bottom. Like there's just stuff all over the bottom.
So my best success with the Ned is not necessarily like working it real slow like a Texas rig. My best success has always been finding a piece of cover, like a log or a piece of structure they're up against. And most of the time, like I'll pitch it right up against it and I'll let it sink. And if they don't pick it up when it sinks, I'll hop it maybe 2 or 3 times. But once it's away from that piece of cover, I reel it in real fast and I get it back out there. Most of the time, as it flutters down, I think it's just a small profile. It's an easy snack. They'll grab it on the fall. I know a lot of guys work it real slow, especially in creeks, but I don't do a ton of creek fishing. Yeah, they'll work it real slow across like the rocks and stuff in creeks.
Need to try it on the BFS rod where I fish a lot that has those stick ups, and just toss it in because you could just work each one individually.
Yep.
So throw it similar to where I'd throw a Texas rig.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sounds good.
Wait, I was working a Texas rig yesterday. But I kept hearing you in the back of my mind, like, slow it down, Jeremy. So I tend to work those big giant hops and work it back in too fast.
Chase, top three?
Well, I mean, I'm sure this will come as a surprise to you. I'm going to
crankbait.
start out with the crankbait. So definitely crankbait, top number one. Next is going to be a bladed jig. Love a bladed jig. They're just a deadly lure really all year long. I've not got on a big bladed jig bite this year. I've caught them here and there, but I'm always going to have one tied on. There's never a time. I mean, even in the winter, I'm going to have a bladed jig on. There's never going to be a time I don't have one. And I know the day's just going to hit and I'm going to smash them on a bladed jig. So that's my number two for sure. And then, man, my number three, it's going to be a topwater presentation. I have a lot of confidence in topwater. I mean, who doesn't love throwing topwater and getting hits? It's going to be between a whopper plopper and a buzzbait. I really love both of those. Got to kind of lean towards the buzzbait because it has done me a lot of good this year already and also caught my PB last year. So love that buzzbait bite. When you get them pinned with a buzzbait, it is hard for them to shake the hook. You know, it's got that bigger hook versus that whopper plopper. You know, it's got those dual trebles and they are prone to be shook off. Still love the whopper ploppers, so no hate. It's right up there with them.
Yeah, buddy. This is a random behind-the-scenes thing. So, sorry, this is like, my brain is like all over the place. One thing, I got a message that this meeting is going to end in like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so
I saw that pop up on my side.
I'm going to have to go through and restart that in a bit. But then also, one thing I just realized is if I'm muting my mic here, it doesn't mute my audio input in my screen capture. So there's 2 times that I was clearing my throat while you were talking, so that's going to have to be some clever editing or something. Or it's just going to be a really awkward cut. Oopsie. Oh,
that's hilarious.
Behind the scenes stuff is great. You know, it's professional. Been doing this for 5 years now, guys. Obviously.
Yeah.
Got a huge following.
I mean, it's no different than mine and Kayla's first 5 or 6 podcasts that we did. Every time we would set up for a live stream, something would happen right at the beginning, you know? I mean, we had 3 of them that I had to start over completely. So yeah, totally get it.
Always
totally get it.
Now, Travis, what about you? Top 3 confidence baits.
Well, number 1 comes as no surprise. It's going to be a Texas rig. Man, I don't know. That's just the thing that I consistently get bit on, whether it's like tossing up in shallow vegetation or tossing in riprap, tossing up against, timber. It just gets bit. And it's fun too because you can throw any kind of profile, right? You can throw a Senko, you can throw a Papa Craw, imitator, you can throw a little punch bug. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And once I figured out, man, that one winter, I think it was last year or the year before that, where I had swapped over my Shimano SLX DC it had 30-pound braid, but then I ran an FG knot to, it was like 12-pound fluoro or something, and went out fishing. It was like, I think the low was like 28, the high was, I don't know, like 38. So sun came up just above freezing, so my, guides weren't icing over anymore. I was like, I want to, fish a Texas rig. Sure, why not? Because they're obviously not going to hit topwater right now. So ever since that day, when I was like, whoa, what is this? And of course, like I've mentioned, like, slow down. Like, I fished obnoxiously slow. And then after that hit, dude, and I think I caught 3 bass that day. Since then, it was just like, that's my tip top. Like, I will always be throwing out a Texas rig. Unless I'm doing a fishing challenge and I'm trying to catch something like on a glide, then I will intentionally leave my Texas because like, eventually it'll end up in my hands, even if I'm not intentionally like, I'm going to fish a Texas now. Just one of those things. Second would probably be a topwater presentation, either a buzzbait or a frog. One of those. I'm trying to get into wakebait fishing, so I'm trying to throw the wakes that Chris had sent me. I bought a couple from him, and I don't know. Like, I liked action on them a lot, but just haven't gotten a hit on them, which is maybe sad, because they just look really appetizing. And it's kind of like the same anticipation when I'm throwing a frog. I cast it out, I make a good cast, and I'm like, all right, surely there's going to be a big old bertha to go and hit this, and it's going to be great. I'm going to set into it, fights on. And nope, they just retrieve it all the way back to the boat. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or I don't know. Buzzbait, a hollow body frog, and maybe a popper. I really like fishing a popper too. But I have popping frogs, so I can get them to make the same popping noise. They just don't have the beads in them, or the little bearings. And then, golly, third would be, I don't know. I want to say jig, but jig and Texas rig are so interchangeable almost. Dang. It'd have to be a toss-up between, this is going to be really silly, a toss-up between a drop shot, a swim jig, bladed jig, or a weightless soft plastic, maybe on like a baby Carolina rig.
Okay.
One of those. It's like today man, I had one good fish, or two good fish today. I was throwing that fluke under docks, and man, I got two good fish pulling like way deep, way in the back of a dock, so that was fun. Because I had never, had success with that. Especially on my second to last tournament, where I just threw at docks like all day because the riprap didn't produce. I don't know, couldn't pull them out of docks.
Yeah, it's that, I think, like with docks, it's the a lot of times the profile on the fall. Like, does it resemble a dying bait fish, like drifting down? And flukes are great for that,
Buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, the timer's over here. So we have 4 minutes before the good old reset. And, well, I don't know, we're going to get kicked off, and I need to start a new meeting, and it's going to be great. Lots of new things, like learning how to record all the things and watch. It's going to be really sad if the audio doesn't record. It's a great test run.
Hey, it would have been a good chat either way.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, for sure. Necessary.
Yeah.
Necessary chat.
I kind of want to get into, because I know, like, the friendship that we've developed over, how long have we known each other now? Like, how long have we been talking?
I would say I probably started talking to you, I would say probably a year now, I think, me and you, Travis. And then, when did you officially join the TheDadFish pro staff? Do you remember?
Was that like in March? A year ago?
I can tell you, I think that's probably close.
So I probably started talking to you then. Man, it may have been the year before that I started talking to you here and there. And it's funny, man, the way I actually started talking to you is I seen you comment on a Greg Blanchard video. and then I can remember like commenting back and forth with you on there, and I was like, I gotta check this guy's channel out.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
Started following you from there.
Man, it's fun seeing the people that show up in lives, because I know whenever you and Kayla go live, you have a really consistent following that hops on and engages with y'all for pretty much the whole duration, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, really.
I've been talking to you, Jeremy, before I went pro staff with TheDadFish Tackle.
Mm-hmm.
We had met over at the altar.
Yeah, was it like, it was 4th of July, 22 or 23?
Jeez. 2023?
I can't remember.
I think it was 23, because we didn't go 4th of July last year. It was a year before that. And then last year, I think around December, is when we went to the live recording.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. You like walked up, were like, are you Jeremy? And I was like, yeah. He's like, Pastor Zach said you're the guy to talk to about fishing. And I was like, all right.
He was funny.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, that guy over there with the glasses and that big beard, talk to him. That's Jeremy. I was like, all right, cool. And the rest is history. That was cool. And then you were gracious enough to go through and hook me up with some soft plastics like before we left, and that was sweet.
Yeah.
I think I burned through all those.
I can tell you just like a funny story that happened to me recently.
What's up?
So I recently bought like new rods and reels, like new gear for the year. I got what I thought was a medium heavy Daiwa Airdex, because the tag, like the hang tag on it, said medium heavy, and I was really using it for the first time yesterday. I'm like, man, this thing is kind of heavy. I'm really disappointed because I love that rod line in the spinning rods. They're super light and sensitive. Like, this is not very sensitive. The reel seat is way too large and uncomfortable. This rod's pretty heavy. And I'm throwing just an 1/8 ounce Texas rig with a 7-inch worm on it. And I just rotate the rod and it's a heavy. So it's just 7 foot heavy. Like, okay. There you go.
And there's your frog rod.
Yep, exactly. I was like, okay, we're just going to make this the frog rod, and I'll put some braid on it, and we'll be good to go.
Yep, frog and heavy pitching rod.
Yep.
Nice,
yeah,
7
exactly.
package.
Or even maybe throw a reel with some fluorocarbon on it and do some deep cranking.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't even imagine like where to start with over there. Because I mean, I had just fished from the bank at the top where that one boat ramp is, and just like around the riprap, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin if I was out here on a boat or a kayak.
I was out on Cherokee. I tried a little bit. I have some, is it 10? I think it's a Strike King crankbait. 10 something. They're big. Like that big. And I just threw it on. I had 15-pound fluorocarbon, the medium heavy rod, and I was just messing around with it because I'd seen some fish like jumping and surfacing out where it was deep, and so I just started running it through there. And I couldn't even tell I had fish on, and I'd reel up and get to the surface, and then they'd like pop off because I wasn't paying attention. I'm just like, man, this thing, it's a medium heavy, so it's bent over, pulling this giant crankbait up from however deep it got it. And I get up there, there's this poor little fish that's maybe twice the size of the lure and just flops off. So
yeah.
I gotta get a little more experience there, because I think in the summer months you can get up like in under trees and stuff in smaller bodies of water and catch them. But I think on those larger bodies like Cherokee and Douglas, I've got to be willing to get out there and hit them deep with drop shots or crankbaits.
That's even that lake that I fished that, you saw me frogging. So that lake has spots that get 80 to 90 feet deep in it. I mean, I don't know how to fish that,
Yep.
I just don't know how to fish that.
It'll be interesting to see, too, where the thermocline is. So I know right now, last time I fished my last tournament, the thermocline was sitting at like 22, 23 feet. So it's just like, I don't know, when you have a lake that's 3 times, 4, 5 times the depth of that, it's like, where's the thermocline?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a thermocline?
I don't know. I think too, I need to get electronics. I need to be able to see like water temperature and read, even just to know how deep it is. I think would be super helpful. And then a drop shot, I think, could actually be really effective if I knew where the fish were. There's a guy, I think it's too, like, I have not fished the lakes around here long enough, or I guess enough. I've fished them for a long time, but I've not been on the water enough to know the lake and the topography well enough. There's a guy, a local guy I talk to pretty often, and he'll be like, oh yeah, you got to go to this creek and name the name of the creek. And then you go up, and then there's this point, and it comes out about, 120 feet. And if you get out there and you pitch XYZ across it and bring it back, you're gonna bring up an 8-pounder every time. And I'm like, and this is a guy that's grown up here, so he's fished like Cherokee. He's fished his whole life. He grew up on Cherokee, and I'm like, to have that knowledge, just of knowing, he gets in a little 10 John boat and he can go just wreck them because he knows the topography. Yeah, I just don't know that.
I think it helps too, man. So I think about retirement because it'd be great, right, to move out to a body of water and then ideally have a golf course next to it too. I just spend my time between fishing and golfing. But to have kind of like that knowledge of a body of water like that in the back of your hand. To know it like the back of your hand, right? because I know there's some guys there's a lake that's pretty far north of me that is pretty pressured, but like there's some guys out there that know, like, okay, from the fountain, if you are, 25 feet southeast of it and you make a cast here, there's this. And if you go through and pop it 3 times here, like, you're going to catch fish. So that knowledge is just wild. And it's crazy too, right? Because that's how it was before, like really before a lot of social media and like the use of electronics, right? Because I know there's guys that have channels that are dedicated towards breaking down lakes.
Yeah.
It's like especially like specific bodies of water. But like for those old school guys that have just that knowledge of I've spent, X amount of like, hundreds of hours out in this body of water, and they can go through and tell you things like that. It's wild.
So next tournament will be, what is it? I think we've got 2 weeks. So be like the second, I don't know. It might be the second weekend of June. I can't remember. It's either the first or the second weekend of June. So we're a week and a half, 2 weeks away. I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready to get out there and have that competition again.
Jeremy, you gonna go through and enter into some tournaments that you gotta pay / donate?
Donate, yeah. I'd like to. There's one I want to every year. It's like since I've learned about it, I want to fish, and it's the Smallmouth King tournament on the Little Pigeon River. I talked to the guy who organizes it, and he's really cool. And it's a kayak tournament, or wading, or bank fishing, but no motors, no electronics. But you can. So for me, it's like that puts me kind of on a level playing field. I don't have any electronics, but you can use a pedal drive, and I mean I love catching largemouth, but smallmouth pound for pound they fight better. Like they are aggressive, mean little fish, and but every year it's always the first full weekend in June. And every year we've got something else going on. And so, and the buy-in's like $50. So it's one of those, like, every year I'm just kind of watching, can I make it this year?
Yeah.
So I'd love to do some tournament fishing, at some point. We'll see. Probably not this year, maybe next year.
Okay.
See where the channel goes. Maybe next year the channel can pay for a few buy-ins.
Dude, I mean, yeah.
There you go.
Especially, so I'm not gonna spoil too much, but I know there's quite a few episodes coming up of a recent trip that you made, and that should go through and bring you some good followers. So you're at, I think, 890 now? You're around there.
Yeah, he's right in there.
Almost to that big old 1K.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting close. I'm hoping we make it by the end of the year.
Yeah, man.
We'll see. I'm about to start posting regularly, so hopefully we'll start pulling in those regular new subscribers, and yeah.
Dude, I'm excited for you to go through and start posting regularly so I can try to race everybody.
For that first.
Yeah. Gotta go through and claim the title.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes my wife, she'll be like, when's the video going live? She'll sit there with her phone, like ready to try and beat you to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I see when I get on and she's the one that comments first. I'm like, oh, she got him.
I'll get you on the next one. I think at some point, so maybe not in this one, but in a future episode with y'all, I think it'd be cool to talk about your faith and kind of how that impacts you specifically as a dad and a husband. So no, that's one thing that I appreciate. We can go through and talk fishing. We can go through and share fish catches and stuff. But outside of that, I know that both of you guys are men of faith. You're involved in church, and actually, you both have good testimonies, right? Solid testimonies that built the foundation of faith and kind of what carries you even now. So I think on our next episode, we'll do a deep dive into that, kind of just sharing a testimony and kind of some dad stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
sounds great
sounds
to me.
Good.
I think that'd be fun. Y'all are the first official guests on the podcast. So I know like other guys have these like overrated or underrated, and like jokes and stuff like that. I don't have anything like that. Normally, I'm just like, all right, well, that's the podcast, and here's a
Yeah.
quick recap, and see ya. Is there anything that you guys would like to add to this? Anything else that you want to bring up, talk about, share, discuss?
No. Think I'm good. It's going to be a busy work week, so on the face side of things, wouldn't mind some extra prayer this week.
Not this coming weekend, but the next one. We've got Blue Plum Festival in Johnson City, Tennessee. We'll be set up for that one. That's always a fun one. Yeah, we'll be setting up there. We'll have every piece of product we've got available will be there. So
solid. We have to shoot like an official or official,
yes.
ask a pseudo-official outro to go through and add the podcast. There's a chunk that is going to be missing, but now we're back. We're back. Guys, so you guys listening, appreciate you listening. If you haven't already, go check out these amazing men of faith, Chase and Jeremy. And, go look up their YouTube channels. Jeremy is TheDadFish. Chase is Southwest Indiana Outdoors. And if anything, go through and comment on how amazing their beards are. Because I can't grow a beard. They can. They've got full beards. It's great. But yeah, it's a pleasure having you guys on. We're going to have to do this again.
yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll go through and develop like a checklist to be a little bit more organized. Or not. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me.
I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy, so it's all good. It was a blast being on. Thanks for the opportunity. We definitely have to do this more. It was good talking to you guys. Time flew. Yeah. It's good talking to my brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yo, thank you. To the next one. See y'all.
Yeah.
Good one.
And that'll be it for this podcast. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for joining me, Jeremy, and Chase. I appreciate it. Like we mentioned, go and stop by, check out their channels, make sure to subscribe, show them some support. Well, that'll be it for this one. I hope that you are able to go fishing. And if you are fishing, I hope you're able to catch a big one. But I'll catch you on the next one. Tight lines. God bless.